LIEnette is about to take the stand in Ohio court, and her lawyer throws the entire anti-what-the-hales ecosystem under the bus. He literally states if the civil protection order is not granted, they will all stop threatening and harassing us. But if it is granted, it will continue to escalate in court to the judge. It was an intense day in court, wasn't it, George?
It was. It was intense as usual, as anticipated. However, the goal, at least their attorney, his goal was to be at a Skyline Chili, sitting down, eating by noon.
By noon. I crack a joke off the record with the entire court staff. I said, hey, it's on me. Let's all go to Skyline. We're all going. And so everybody laughs. And but after our attorney, Eli, has cross-examined Deuce, who self-incriminates himself, Tina Haley, who self-incriminates herself,
and her hubby,
Crook, who self-incriminates himself. Eli comes sit down next to me and he says, we are filing perjury charges. We are filing criminal charges against these idiots tomorrow morning. I have never seen such lies in court in all of my life. Except he forgot. LIEnette's being called for witness next. And the lies keep coming. Wow.
But I feel like he knew it was coming. So it wasn't premature on his end. He saw it coming because they have no credibility and they've lied and contradicted themselves in court numerous times in the past.
So much. So their lawyer, after a full morning of court already, and literally is at a point of just giving up. He has found himself in a situation. He was manipulated. He was lied to about. He knew none of the facts. And he's at a point of, listen, this is out of control. Keep in mind, he's a criminal lawyer. He's not used to this civil stuff. This is not his forte. This is not what he's typically dealing with. Civil protection orders, violations, renewals. He's into some serious crime. Just so happens his clients are going to be facing criminal charges as well after this for perjury. And we see the first lie from LIEnette as Justin calls her onto the stand through Zoom. What's your name? Of course, we already know it's going to be a lie, right? She goes, I like to go by Michelle. Not her name. It's LIEnette. Not Michelle. That would be her daughter.
Her legal name.
LIEnette.
Like, what part of just stating your legal name does she not understand? You want to be, you have a preferred name? Fine, but stick with your legal name for the record.
She knew how old she was. Crook couldn't even figure that out. She's, I'm 63.
She's actually my mom's age. I recently put two and two together that they were both born in the same year.
But LIEnette looks 40, 50 years older than she actually is.
She looks
Your
like
mom looks younger than she actually is.
Yeah.
Wow. And
I guess my mom doesn't chew on non-prescribed meds.
Okay. So she's asked by her attorney, who is examining. So she's under examination right now. So direct examination. Then she's going to be cross-examined by our attorney. Says, how long have you been in Otter Creek? How long have you lived there? Well, we lived there since 2021. Well, why don't you give the answer? You took better notes because I was just, man, the notes. Double page.
I've got a lot of notes.
Yeah, we got so many.
I have so many notes.
I went through this whole notepad and then had to flip it over and then start. I didn't have enough paper, and then I had to start using the backside of these pages. It was just insanity. So how about you run with it?
He went through the standard of, I'm going to go back a little bit. He went through the standard of, if I ask a bad question that you don't understand, don't speculate. Just ask me to reword it and I'll do my best. And so he goes into asking her basic questions. But I also want to highlight her appearance. Because she actually took the time to make herself look decent.
Actually did this time.
Yes. She came in, she was dressed professionally.
She did this whole bun thing that George likes. Even, see the hair over here? She mirrored George's hair. completely.
Yeah, she did. And she was wearing like the tortoise green eyeshadow, and she was wearing glasses. She tried to make herself look younger by applying cover up, and did the whole nine, and had a ponytail with like
Actually
her
had
bangs
dress
hanging.
clothes on,
She had
even
a
though
nice top on.
yeah, she didn't claim any of that in her bankruptcy filing.
But I did notice she had all
no clothes,
new brand
remember?
new jewelry.
Lots, tons.
Yeah. And
Looks so gaudy,
she was
so nasty.
she was texting while she was on Zoom. It was so obvious she was texting while she was on Zoom. But the judge didn't say anything. The judge did put her in a place for speaking and putting her on mute.
You think she was texting FLEASA, even though under oath she said she hasn't spoken to FLEASA in over 9 months?
8 or 9 months.
I haven't spoken a word to her.
Well, her answer changed. First it was 9 months, then it was 8 months. But we're jumping ahead of ourselves.
Oh, we have a tendency to do that.
So he does.
We're overachievers. That's how we get ahead of ourselves.
He asks her to spell her name for the record. And then she says to state her name, spell it for the record. And then she goes, but I go by Michelle. Whatever.
Okay.
And then he asks her how old she is. She says 63. And he asks her, where do you live? And she goes, Otter Creek, Florida, on Otter Creek Avenue. And then he asked her, how long have you lived there? She said since 2021, but we didn't move to the house. First of all, they don't have a house on that property.
There's no house.
She said we didn't move into the house until 2022. So she followed our path of moving to the campground first, and then once they were able to get her property, which remember that property was known as a dump. It was a dumping ground for decades before she bought it. But she moved to Otter Creek to save the child. Any fever can kill her, but why move on to a dump? How is that safe for the child?
How'd they move into a house in 2022 when there's no house?
There is no house. So it took them several months to even get the property to be decent, to at least move from the campground onto that property. But it took them until about, I think, July of 22 is when they finally moved over there. And then he asked her, what do you do for a living? And she said, I'm disabled. And he asked her, how long have you been disabled for? She goes, 2014.
2014. Since 2014, she's been disabled.
That's over a decade.
Now, Crook told us fused spine. We didn't get why she's disabled. But I'm confident it's not physical.
No, I don't think it's physical. She debunked herself by running. We've all seen her run on the police dash cam footage. We've seen her lifting up heavy tools and moving heavy shelves when Lloyd, the disabled veteran, needed to be rescued off of her property. And so that doesn't look disabled to me. You see her carrying the child on her hip. Channel 20 News was interviewing her, and she's holding the child on her hip like it's no problem. But if someone had herniated discs and degenerative disc, wouldn't you be in a wheelchair? Like, how can you do all of the things that she's claiming?
You would think.
And again, someone who's been disabled since 2014, in a relationship with a man who's been disabled since in his 20s, adopt a child, both living on disability, which is like limited income under $1,000 a month, makes no sense to me. So then he asks, how big is your property? And she answers 1.66 acres. You could probably do a better job of like the voice.
1.66 acres. And he goes, so you live in a luxury multi-million-dollar home, I imagine. Now, you realize this is a backhanded insult to us. By the way, we don't live in luxury. And frankly, I would have never bought $1 million home if we weren't stalked. We didn't buy a home here at Hale's Headquarters. We bought property that nobody can ever build around us, ever. Right. We cannot be stalked here. So his backhanded comment falls flat. Because until he's stalked by these individuals, which very well may happen, because now they're going to, after all of this, they're going to say he set them up, he failed them, they sabotaged them, and they're going to sue him. Well, then he's going to know what it's like to have to need a $1 million piece of property. The home was already here. We needed the property for security. And so, backhanded comment, oh, it's a luxury multi-million-dollar home, I imagine. No, sir. No, sir.
But the house on the ranch in Otter Creek, there's nothing fancy about it. It used to be a hunting cabin where 10 individuals, 10 adults lived in. And there's only 2 people that live on the house on the ranch. And so there's nothing fancy about it. It's not a multi-million-dollar home. So for him to even throw that out there makes there's no relevance because it's not in Florida. The multi-million-dollar home.
At this point, he was grasping for anything he potentially could because he was done. He was done. And LIEnette is going to seal the coffin. Mm-hmm. It's a dead case on their behalf at this point.
He quickly learned that he was duped by the deuce.
Big time.
Duped by the deuce.
Big time.
And so he asked her, he goes, what made you decide to move? She goes into her long BS story
We just completed a fully remodeled, beautiful home, but I was asked to adopt a baby in 2019. Yeah, nobody asked her to adopt a baby. She sought out a child to adopt through Facebook, claimed that this was her best friend, then takes the child from the grandmother, which she brings up, says that, by the way, this fake crying starts. And her grandma kept bringing snot-nosed kids to my home. And every kid wants to be in my home. I had to protect my baby. Hold a second. Are you an adult or not? Because you don't have to let people in your home. So every little kid wants to come to her house. A grandma wants to come to her house with snot-nosed little kids.
to visit her own biological grandbaby.
This is on the record.
Mm-hmm.
You can say no. See, we did it. And that's where we got signs planted all around Otter Creek saying that I ARPed a baby child who would have been 3 at that point.
Mm-hmm.
They're not used to that word no. They don't like that word no.
Mm-hmm. But here's where her story makes no sense. Because she said she was asked to adopt a baby in 2019.
She sought out a baby.
Mm-hmm. And that in 2018, she looked at that property, that specific piece of property, that 1.66 acre property, for her and her daughter to live in. But that plan didn't work out.
So my daughter wouldn't live with me. Now, let me be very clear on this piece of property in 2018. She never saw this piece of property in 2018. This is a tax lien. This is a tax sale, which they're called. You cannot find that on the internet.
They're not on the MLS.
Only way you can ever find this is going into the tax collector's office. So this entire story of her contrived, I've been watching this property since 2018, would only be true if she went to every single county looking at tax records, picking it out, going, well, this one is owed back tax. Oh, this one's for tax sale. It's the only way it would be true. So you're telling me she drove 4 hours?
7 hours round trip.
Okay, 7 hours round trip up to Levy County and said, hey, can I see your tax liens? Yeah, it's all a lie. 100%. The only way to find out about it is through the tax collector's office. It's not public information online. It's all a lie.
Yep, and then said that this child had a life-threatening metabolic disorder and a fever can cause death.
She went into the spiel again.
But remember, the person that gave her a fever was Crook when they moved to Otter Creek. So how is that saving
RSV, wasn't it?
Isn't that what I said?
You said fever, but wasn't it RSV
yeah,
from my
it was
recollection?
RSV.
Yeah, from all of LIEnette's posts, how she hates him because he did this to...
So he almost unalived the child because he thought it was going to boost her immune system.
Make her stronger.
But in 2019, COVID didn't... She also said COVID hit. COVID didn't hit in 2019.
Nope. Or 2018. And then she also said, under oath, get this, I'm overprotective. I needed to keep her isolated. I couldn't do that here. You see my notes right there. I was writing so fast, just trying to keep up. I needed to keep her isolated. I have never heard a more condemning statement on the record than I needed to keep her isolated. And never has LIEnette spoken truer words. She is attempting to isolate this child and do horrific things the emotional damage that must be going on
And the
behind
verbal.
that fence, and physical. You've seen it and heard it on police videos.
Well, not only that, you also hear it during 911 dispatch calls. Shara has testified to it that she's witnessed the abuse. And then Tina, the witness, even has heard it verbally over the phone. Her husband even heard it.
Retired cop. And LIEnette states, I couldn't do that here. Now, here where she was is Otter Creek when she's giving testimony. What she meant was Northport, where she was. Therefore, she had to isolate this child in Otter Creek. The child has nothing to do with them moving to Otter Creek. We have all the text messages, all of the proof. We are why she moved to Otter Creek. Remember, she texted and said, there's a strategy. Yeah, the strategy was trying to get our money and a fan base to support her.
Yeah. And Crook was going to ruin her adoption because he was rinking and campaigning, and people were wondering, why is she grifting when he could be working, and instead of campaigning for hours on end daily, instigating arguments and fights with candidates.
He can't work. He's been disabled since the 80s.
But he can campaign for hours.
And apparently climb up ladders.
Yeah.
With spinal fusion.
Yep. So then LP starts fake crying, and she's like, I told John we have to go. We have to give it all up. Her newly remodeled home.
Beautiful, you forgot.
My beautifully remodeled home.
When all she had to
come
do...
to my beautiful Otter Creek property with my beautiful baby, with my beautiful soulmate, John Crook, who I hate, who's a narcissist.
Which we're going to get to that.
Oh,
she calls him a narcissist.
She does.
On the record.
Oh my gosh. And he sits there and just takes it. So she went from a beautifully remodeled home where she could have just isolated the child there away from other people and germs and viruses that could have caused a fever by locking the door, right? Versus bringing the child to a vacant lot that was a dump for decades with no money to even build a home. Instead, she ended up in a shed and then somehow ended up in the camper because it became part of the care plan. So then she says that the property went up for sale 3 times. She said it was a tax sale, and then it became on sale private for only like $27,000, but tax sale was like $3,000. Do you see the huge jump there from $3,000 to $27,000? Why would you pay $27,000 when you could have paid $3,000 at tax?
Let me clarify. Anybody can figure out that it's sold at tax sale. Okay. So you can find that is public information on the county auditor site. It will tell you sold at tax sale for $2,000, sold at tax sale for $3,000. Then Three Sisters, which is a company of 3 sisters in New York, actually put it up for sale when they purchased it at tax sale. You see, LIEnette never knew it was up for sale under tax sale. She could get the information after the fact on the county auditor site. I can pull it up right now. That's how foolish her lies are that she backs herself into a corner with. And ultimately, she's going to find herself with charges because of it.
Yeah, this is true. So then Justin, he clarifies. He goes, so the basis of your move was to isolate? Again, remember that 1.66 acre was a dump. And she even knew that. I wish that Eli could have cross-examined her and asked her if the property was a dump when they bought it. She would have said yes. She actually would have said the truth about that. So then she goes on to talk about how the biological grandma, remember the biological grandma of the child that she was asked to adopt was supposedly her best friend. Come to find out, her best friend had no clue she was going to put the house up for sale and move to Otter Creek. Doesn't sound like a best friend to me.
You know, my best friend, I know what she likes. I know what she doesn't like. I know her age. I know her birthday. I know all of her freckles. I know all of her birthmarks, her moles. LIEnette doesn't know anything about the biological grandma, except she met her at a Facebook page. Mm-hmm. This is not a best friend. LIEnette doesn't have friends. LIEnette isn't a friend. To have a friend, you must be a friend. And she does not have that ability.
No, she doesn't have the ability to keep friends, and she's
posted it. She has literally
She
posted
has.
that publicly.
Look at all the relationships that she's severed. Look at Shara. Shara's a perfect example. Look at the godmother. She trusted the godmother, Jamie, to be the godmother of the child, and now they're no longer friends.
Which she stalked the godmother, Jamie, because of
Facebook. She had a Facebook
following.
Mm-hmm.
Same as she stalked us.
Yes.
Except she didn't buy property where Jamie was.
She goes on, just to clarify or just to validate what you said, she did go into talking about how the grandma would bring over the sick siblings, because the grandma had 2 of the child's older siblings. They would be snot-nosed, and the neighbors' kids loved her so much, and they were over every day, and they had snotty noses.
So tell them to go home.
Mm-hmm. But did any of those snot-nosed kids that LIEnette describes gotten the child sick? No. But
Cook
John
did.
sure did with RSV. She made a Facebook Live video announcing it to the world.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Oh, she throws Crook under the bus big time. And then her lawyer, Justin, throws the entire anti-What the Hales ecosystem under the bus. All of them. It was... George said it in the car on the way home. She goes, "That was glorious." I was like... It was.
A good day. It was a good day.
It was.
Yeah, we did. It did not.
I was like, is he representing us? I think he's representing us right now. It was wild.
I wonder if we could ever use him like for a future case.
It'd be a conflict of interest.
Would it? Okay.
It'd be conflict of interest.
He's a good lawyer. I have mad respect for him.
Yeah.
Anyways, for someone that was looking for a safe place for their child, wouldn't it be important to do research on the county that you're living in or you're moving to?
Water quality, hospitals,
crime rates,
medical care.
Yeah.
If
Levy County doesn't have any hospitals in the entire county. It's one of the poorest counties in Florida.
Does your significant other, point firearms at people, little 8-year-old girls? Is he a narcissist? Oh, she even under oath goes, "We have many problems."
And everybody knows
And everybody knows it. Yeah. You know why people know it?
Because she airs her dirty laundry online. And so Levy County, it's one of the poorest counties that they don't offer certain programs or grants that she can apply for. Like, wouldn't she have done the research about that and just locked her house and kept snot-nosed kids, this is her words, not mine, from entering before making the move? Like, again, her story makes no sense and it has a ton of different holes in it. She clearly wanted to move across the street from us to use our fan base for donations, which is exactly what she's getting right now.
And she thought I was going to give her money and give her land and give and give and give, because that's what she's seen online.
And promotion of the turtle rescue, because you love turtles.
Unfortunately, because of these situations, George and I have had to pull back, and we can't do as much giving as we would really like to. And unfortunately, now we have this wall of protection around us to make sure this never happens to us again. Mm-hmm. And so I would love to be back to where we were with the innocent trust of everyone, but that will never, ever happen again. This is life-changing, and to the point where we have had to isolate ourselves for our own protection, which is why we live in Hale's headquarters. If it wasn't for this, we would have never, ever purchase this piece of property.
So then he goes on to ask her about her relationship with the neighbors. He asked her, "Who are your neighbors?" And she said,
Jeremy and George.
She names us first. She names us
Who's
first.
your neighbors? Jeremy and George. Well, what were your interactions like? Oh, they were very good in the beginning. I would give them bread for their chickens and for their pigs, and it was just great. We would text all the time about wild pit bulls, and it was just amazing.
But she names Gail, who's directly the closest to her, last. She names off Tina and says that she's known her but she didn't meet Tina until 2 years later.
Odd. Very odd.
Which isn't true. Her math ain't mathin', because she was talking to Tina end of 22 when I first met her, and they moved in 21. So that's not 2 years. And then she talks about, I met the people on the corner, didn't even know her name. And then she said, Gail across the street. And then he asked, what was your initial reaction with Jeremy Hales? And that's when she goes into saying, it was very good at the beginning. We would message each other all the time, and we got along very well.
Well, I'm very neighborly with everybody. You want to start something with me, I can promise you, you are not going to lie to me. You are not going to steal from me without there being consequences. And this was 100% pure manipulation. This is 100% stalking. The posts, the lies, the signs, and third-party contact. Yeah, we're nowhere near done. Want to think I'm petty? I'm not petty. I'm protective. I'm protective of her. I'm protective of employees. Frankly, I'm protective of the people I love.
What do you have next on your...
Well, Justin then just asked, when did it sour? And she says, well, it was roughly when, George came to the property. And she said, I was telling her very, very sensitive stuff about me and John. And she said, you obviously have a lot on your plate. You should give your daughter up for adoption. I told her to leave right away.
Well, my notes say that she specifically wrote... Now, mind you, her answer has evolved, and there's different words, and her answer has changed.
All over Facebook, it was George came on the property, and she told George to get the F off the property. Every time in court, the F is gone, and she told her she needed to leave now.
It soured when she offered bread, and I came onto their property, and she shared a lot of personal information with me, and that her relationship between her and Crook were rough. Because she explained to me that
nonstop.
The very first time I met her, she said she wanted him off her property, out of her life.
So what she does is she gives you a sob story for everything, hoping that you'll throw money at her. And it is freaking nonstop, and it's the most annoying thing in the world, and I can't stand it. And she texts me, and she's like, I have bread for your animals. And trying to be neighborly and trying to be nice, most of the times we just threw the bread away. We didn't give it to the chickens. She should never be getting it away. We found out she's getting it from the food pantry. It should be going to people, not animals. And I told George that morning, I'm like, listen, I cannot listen to her again. You got to take one for the team. Just stop over there. Just pick it up. Come back. Appease her. And she'll be fine for a couple more weeks.
There's days where I wish I never went there by myself. It was horrible.
I wish I never, ever met them in my life, let alone take the tractor over there, let alone give them my number, let alone.
She went through a whole list of complaints, how much she pays for this, that she doesn't have money for that, and this. And her whole strategy is to pull at your heartstrings in hopes
so you give her
that
money.
You can feel sorry for her and help her in any way that she can get, mostly financial.
And then the fake crying starts.
Yes.
And it
But
started
no tears.
in court again. And she told me I should consider giving my child up for adoption.
Yeah. She said,
I love that baby more than my life. This is what she said under oath.
have you ever thought about giving the child for adoption? Wouldn't it be best for her? First of all, I've never said those words to her ever. I've never even alluded to her giving the child up for adoption. All I said to her was, it seems like you have a lot on your plate. It seems like you have a lot on your plate. So did her guilty conscience take those words and twist it in her head that I told her that she should give the child up for adoption? Don't remove my notifications.
Too late. It's buzzing every 5 minutes.
So then she goes on to say that, or he goes on to ask her, do you have a social media presence? And she responds back, well, I only have a private page.
Which, at this point in time, we had a count of 13 Facebook pages. So this is another lie under oath. And she's actually been presented all of this information in Ohio court already. So she lies under oath again.
She does. So he asked her, do you have a social media presence? And she says, all I have is a Facebook private page, which is a lie because she has her turtle rescue, her tortoise rescue. She has her standing in her trash page. She also created a Facebook for the child. Why does the child need a Facebook? She's got her personal Facebook.
So there's 4 right there. More lies.
She intentionally deleted Otter Creek Friends and Neighbors page.
Because it was incriminating.
She has her marriage, her ordained minister page.
There's number 5.
She didn't include her Instagram that she still has. She has like so many social media accounts.
By the way, she created a whatnot page. Which we are already informed that she comes in and she watches our auctions. She doesn't bid. Obviously, that would be a massive CPO violation for her bidding and us having to ship. But she comes in and she watches, and then she calls people and complains about what we sell and how much it sells for.
So her saying she only has 1 page, a Facebook private page, that was a lie. She already contradicted herself because we've seen her tortoise rescue and her standing in her trash, which she specifically told in previous codes that she only created that group to debunk his lies. So keep that in mind. Remember that, to debunk his lies. So then she talks about how you and I made a video about adopting a child.
She literally states under oath in court that we made a video on YouTube saying that we wanted to adopt our child. Now, let me be very, very clear. We want the child to be in a safe environment. We have stated, I think at one point we went, well, if we have to be the people to save her, then we would do that. We don't have a desire to add another child to our lives. Our lives are all over the place. Look at our lives. We're being stalked by freaks, fools, felons. I mean, no child should be involved in what's happening to us. We want the child to be saved. And frankly, we think the best thing is to be with family. Not us.
Her biological siblings. Kids her age that she can interact with versus being isolated. Because the fact that she moved here to save the child, the Christmas event that the FLEASA hosted for her totally debunked that whole narrative.
Oh, wait, there were
the child's fine.
There were snot-nosed kids all over.
All over. Oh. She was hugging random strangers.
Oh, FLEASA's got the long-term FLEASA flu.
The child was sitting on FLEASA's lap in a vehicle.
Do you think
she wasn't wearing a face mask?
Child got the long-term FLEASA flu?
I don't know. I don't think so.
Oh boy.
So her own PR team debunked that narrative.
And then she goes on to say, then CPS was, Children's Services was getting called. Everybody was called. I was just nonstop. They're trying to steal my child. Listen, we have never tried to steal a child, and that is just downright defamation. We want to see this child saved. We want to see the people of Otter Creek saved. We want to see the animals saved. And so he asked, well, how many times has CPS been called? She goes, 41. I don't know how she's at, all of a sudden 10 have been added to the 31. 41 times. And Justin says, well, do you still have custody of the child? And she goes, absolutely.
He did ask her, has any of them been substantiated? She said none.
Oh.
However, when Shara was covering her story,
there's case plans.
That they posted.
Case plans.
Why does she need a
You don't have a case plan. You don't have a porta potty on the property without the case plan stating that you must have something for that child to go to the bathroom in. If it's unsubstantiated. All lies. All lies.
Yep. Remember the recording that Shara shared where LIEnette said she wanted Jeremy Hales put down like a dead effing dog. Shara was like, well, this is good. They can give you the services you need. She goes, what services? We don't need any services. Again,
we're going to get to the dead effing dog because she's questioned on it. And boy, does she lie through her tooth. Her tooth. So Justin asked, have you ever threatened Jeremy Hales or George? No! Have you ever brandished a firearm? No! I have not! Have you ever requested anybody else to threaten to contact Jeremy Hales or George? No, I have not! Have you petitioned them to defame him? You know, FLEASA, Deuce, Paint Chips, Vomit, Stupid Lane,
specifically
Bonehead,
names.
Marli Huge.
Well,
No!
He specifically calls out 2 fleas, vomit,
constantly,
and paint chips.
with all the witnesses. He's
and
calling
then
them out.
other YouTubers.
And this becomes very important at the end with his closing statements because he throws them all under the bus, stating that they are all using LIEnette and Crook as pawns for fame and fortune. Again, we will get to that.
Yes.
Oh, and
he says other YouTube channels. He doesn't specifically name them, but he specifically named 2 fleas, vomit, and paint chips.
And he goes on to ask, have you ever witnessed Crook doing any of these things? And she doesn't answer the question. She says, we want nothing to do with them. We want them to leave us alone. We want to live in peace. We want them to live in peace. Leave us alone. That's interesting. How is it that she wants us to leave her alone when they keep violating the civil protection or literally giving videos of our comings and goings to third parties? But they want nothing to do with this, and yet they continue to add fuel to the fire.
Yeah, rolling down her window, communicating, actively participating in these anti-what the Hale social medias. And then she goes on to say that her daughter's life has been taken from her. How is her life taken from her? Because she can't play on the street, on the road?
Well, we'll get to she wants nothing more than to have her daughter play in the road.
Yeah. She goes, I just want to I want them to be happy and to go about their own business and to leave us alone. That's all we have ever wanted. To be happy, go about our business. We actually run a real business.
Yeah. There's multiple insane people who have shown up at our doorsteps in Florida saying, I'm going to live in a tent on your property, because they don't understand sarcasm. They don't understand humor. And it's literally the same. Go. You are not welcome here. It's not our problem that you have the issue that you can't understand humor. You're not going to be on our property. Don't ever come. And we've had people literally go, the Lord told me to come and talk to you to live on your property. I'm going to live in a tent. I'm going to live off of your... Has anybody ever seen any videos of these people? No. They left. They did the right thing. Crook and LIEnette? No. Justin asked LIEnette, who's the instigator in all of this? Her answer isn't Jeremy Hale's. Her answer is mostly Jeremy Hale's. She admits with her answer that she instigates. I could not believe it. Her answer is mostly. I'm sure he prepped her beforehand and said, you're going to say Jeremy Hale's. Not her. Mostly. Jeremy Hale's is the instigator. We just want him to leave us alone. Oh, and she goes, well, the one incident at the post office. And so she's asking who's the instigator, Jeremy Hale's or her. Okay. And she goes into George at the post office incident. So LIEnette is so dumb going Jeremy or George instigating. And she goes, well, it's mostly Jeremy, but it's George. I was at the post office. She literally says, John Crook and I were arguing and her car wasn't there and I got out and I needed my mail and I was charged illegally by this court. Can you imagine being the judge right now, being told that what you did was illegal? Now, we're not talking Judge Grudge, who in appellate court literally said what he did was illegal. We're talking about a judge who followed the law and did the right things. I couldn't believe it.
She's claiming she didn't see anyone, but then goes on to say she saw Deanna's car. But you just said you didn't see anybody in the post office. When it was myself, Deanna, Brian at the time, and Kevin and the cook.
She looks you square in the eye, square at your phone videoing her.
Yes.
It's just all lies. It's all lies. And criminal charges are coming in Ohio. I didn't even ask Eli to do it. He went, we are filing criminal charges for perjury in Ohio. Go for it. Do it.
So then she confirms exactly what we said. She saw a neighbor, Dan, continue to talk to him instead of leaving immediately. She said, I saw Dan Shannon. I said hi. And then I went home.
After massive arguments with John Crook on the way to the post office.
I am being accused of multiple violations.
Well, Justin asked her, he goes, is it true you've been accused of multiple violations? She goes, well, yes. And I sent a text message. And so she goes into this text message that she sent me while she was being deposed and how she was set up and the sheriff came to arrest her, which is the biggest joke in the world. Levy County Sheriff
They're not gonna
is
arrest.
not going to arrest her, nor have they ever attempted to arrest her.
No.
It doesn't matter how she sent the text message, what the circumstances were for the text message. All that matters is the standard is the law. She sent a text message. She is guilty of violating the civil protection order. Whether it was an accident, whether it was on purpose, the law is the law. You know what? I've sped before on accident. When a cop pulls me over and says, you know how fast you were going? No, sir. I wasn't paying attention. It was an accident. He thinks he goes, oh, don't worry. I'm not writing you a ticket. No. You broke the law. Next time, pay attention. The law is the standard. She broke the standard and she's trying to go, well, they were trying to set me up and I texted him and they came to arrest me, but I told them it was an accident. Jeez. Couldn't believe it.
How is everything a setup?
She's like, I was set up at a 7-hour deposition. It was horrible.
Well, Deuce said,
It's appalling. It was appalling.
insanity. And then he starts asking questions about the deposition. He's like, so Jeremy Hale's brought a lawsuit against you and you were being deposed in it? She goes, oh, yes. No. LIEnette brought a suit against me.
Yes.
Not us. Against me in Levy County. She was being deposed for. So she lies under oath again. She brought the legal action against me. Judge Grudge was found to be biased. He was operating unlawfully, illegally, and the appellate courts kicked him out, and then she dropped it. And she's claiming under oath in Ohio court that I brought this action against her. Wrong. I didn't bring thumbnail case. I didn't bring trespass 5 case. I didn't do any of this. You take Crook and LIEnette out of the equation, guess what? Life is normal. If we're doing this for YouTube fodder, a bad neighbor story, why has nobody seen anything in regards to our neighbors here in Ohio? Except healthy relationships with pleasant people that we love and love us.
Well, if we were doing this for YouTube fodder, wouldn't we be sitting across the street from her property trying to get them every day, 24 hours a day, posting it online?
Crook see me more than
Twice
2 times in
1
2
year?
years? He said 2 years.
My notes say 1 year.
So, at this point, well, it could have been 1 year. I mean, there's so much going on. Again, so much going on. At this point, Eli, objection! And the judge, because this is going nowhere. This is going over things that have already been adjudicated. They've already been decisions on. They've been found guilty on. We are wasting court time, and nobody wants to be there in the first place. Court's not fun. And the judge tells Justin, you need to ask direct questions and get direct answers. And so Justin asks LIEnette, did you send a text to Jeremy Hale? She says yes. And did Jeremy Hales turn you into the sheriff? And she says yes. The next day, sheriff showed up to arrest me, and it was sent accidentally. They stopped arresting me when I told them it was an accident. And Justin says, so the sheriff investigated each violation and found no violations at all, ever in Levy County. She says, well, yes, they investigated each violation. And he goes on to say, did you ever harm Jeremy Hales? No. And this is where the insanity comes out, where she says, I want my child to play in the road. She's literally, the fake crying goes on again. I want my child to play in the road. And I just want him to leave me alone. I would never go on his property. I would never violate this. She literally says, I would never violate this order. How many times has she been found guilty already of violating the order?
Multiple.
She'll never violate the order. I want my child to play. I don't think I have to say this to people with common sense. The road is no place for a child to play on. You got 1.66 acres. Clean it up and play there.
Well, there's an entire fenced-in playground behind Town Hall that she could take the kid to run around in. But she talks about how she wants her little girl to chalk on the road. She has this obsession
It's gravel.
with the child chalking in the middle of the road. The same road that she says people fly and do upwards to 70 miles per hour.
Says I do. And then complains that I drive too slow. Complains when I drive too fast. Complains when I drive too slow. There's no winning.
She wants the child to ride her bike in the road. How is that safe for the child? You moved Otter Creek to save the child?
Here's the other thing that I find rather interesting when we're talking about this playing in the road. There is an Otter Creek Park behind Town Hall. Now, they've taken all the basketball hoops down, but the court is still there. You can go put chalk on the actual blacktop, not gravel, blacktop of the basketball court. Now, the swings are taken down, but you know, there's a big open field that Richard actually mows, and you can ride a bike in it. And there's no glass, there's no snakes, there's no nails from their trashed property. Take the kid to the park. Problem solved.
She could even take her to Cedar Key where they have a nice park on the beach. That's open to the public.
There might be too many snot-nosed people
Oh,
there, George.
that's right.
Snot-nosed. There's nobody goes to the Otter Creek Park.
No.
Nobody.
So they would have the entire park to themselves. They had no problems going to town hall 3 hours early before a meeting started with the child in it.
Didn't let the child go to the park right behind town hall. There's literally a fenced gate. You could have went behind the town hall building right into the park. 3 hours. Made a child sit in a vehicle with Crook vaping the entire time. Secondhand.
So then she goes on to talk about how there's cameras aimed at her property 24/7, but yet they have cameras aimed at our property
24/7.
And then she goes, I want to be left alone. The cameras across the street. We're going to have the cameras petition to have them removed legally. So she thinks in her mind that she can petition to the courts to have us legally remove security cameras that are on our property, the 70 acres that are pointing to the road and to the mailbox for people that come to visit Tubetown. Make that make sense. Because if she can petition to have security cameras removed off our property, then we can do the same for her so that they're not blasting our vehicles online, posting our whereabouts, right?
And we're not sending that information to anybody. Not that we're under civil protection orders. They are.
So then Justin asks, he goes, so with the text messages that you sent to Jeremy, which she admitted she sent text messages and communicated with Jeremy. No one set her up.
I don't even think we
didn't
bring this as a violation
in
Ohio court. We didn't bring Walmart as a violation.
Nope.
We didn't bring the text messages.
Nope.
Crook admits Walmart in court under oath. LIEnette admits text messaging under oath in court. We didn't even bring these up as violations.
No.
Thank you for doing our job for us.
So he's saying, so this was just a technical issues and not intentional violation, correct? Which we'd never even reported that. So he's questioning her on things that are irrelevant. And then he says no further questions.
No further questions for his client. But Eli, he's got a lot of questions. And it's about to go down. Mm-hmm. What you got, George?
All right, so at this point, it's 11:13. Remember, the goal was to be at a Skyline Chili, sitting down by noon. I don't know where Skyline Chili is, but that was the goal. So we're making pretty decent timing, I would guess.
Justin has given up at this point. He knows he is literally in a losing battle. There's no way he can win. Mm-hmm. All of his witnesses have destroyed themselves, destroyed the case, the credibility. And he knows it's done. They are going to be found guilty. The civil protection orders are going to be extended. Mm-hmm. And his last-ditch effort at the end in closing arguments is to throw the entire anti-what-the-hell's ecosystem under the bus, which we'll get to.
So then Eli stands up and he starts questioning her. He goes, and now, Miss Preston, you were held in contempt twice in the past, right? She goes, yes, I was legally found violating wrongfully.
She tells the court wrongfully she was held in contempt. Imagine
I'm surprised she didn't use the word fraudulently like she has. That was her favorite word, but she kept using the word wrongfully. And he said, and this court has found enough...
Wait, hold a second. She also said, he got the CPOs with perjured evidence. Okay, keep going.
Oh, that was going to be my next line.
Oh, okay. I missed some things then.
He said, so Eli said, so this court found enough evidence to issue the civil stalking protective order against you. And she goes, yes, they had an ex parte with false evidence. evidence that she admitted to, and so did Crook.
So what I got,
how's
he
it
got the
false?
CPO with perjured evidence. It must be further down on your page.
He said,
And he says, the court found you guilty, correct? And she goes,
well, he had to remind her we had a full hearing.
yeah.
This court had a full hearing on the evidence and still found you guilty.
And she goes, that is not true. And he goes, well, you're under a civil protection order, correct? And she goes, I'm wrongfully under a civil protection order.
By the courts.
And he goes, hold a second. You provided your own video of rolling down your window and saying to George, so afraid. And she goes, I was speaking to my phone.
Now remember,
She rolled down her window to speak to her phone.
But
Makes sense,
she-
right? She had to roll it down to speak to her phone. Because whenever I speak to my phone, I make sure the window is down.
her story has changed, right? The first time she said this, she said she was speaking to a passenger.
Yep, so she said she was speaking to it. First, she said it never happened.
Yes.
Then she said she was speaking to a passenger.
Correct.
Then we found out she submitted the video to Levy County Sheriff.
Yes.
Then we got it through FOIA request.
Yes.
She rolls the window down, communicates with George.
Yes.
Now she's saying she was communicating with her phone. And of course, whenever you communicate with your phone, because, people like to talk to their phones, you got to roll the window
down the window.
That's an absolute. Yeah, that doesn't fly too well with the judge.
Yeah. I think people can read between the lines and see her inconsistency and her BS. And then she said she was recording for her safety.
She goes, just like Jeremy says, I'm recording for my safety. So you see, everything we do in life, they mimic. Everything. When Georgia said, I'm in counseling because of this, then LIEnette went into court and said, I'm in counseling because of this. When we say we're recording for her safety, now she was recording for her safety. And I could give you 100 more examples. But Eli pulls up the audio and goes, okay, you know what? Let's go ahead and let's listen to this because we're having IT issues at this point.
Screen sharing wasn't working.
Video has already been shown a month ago.
Correct.
And he goes, let's just pull this up. And he goes, I'm going to play this audio for you. And in it, she goes, so afraid. She's terrified with the window down. She goes, yeah, that's my video. And Eli goes, so you're alleging that these things aren't true? You never said this? And she goes, well, I was speaking to my phone wrongfully. Her hands are all up with all this gaudy nastiness all over. I mean, she just looks, it makes you want to puke.
Why?
She is a horrible individual.
Why did she roll down her window? Had she not rolled down her window and communicated with me,
She would have been okay.
she would have been fine. I wouldn't have had to call Levy County Sheriff. We wouldn't have had to go back to the Ohio courts to file contempt charges for her communicating with me.
I had to close the window. Bugs are flying in. It's getting dark outside. We've been videoing for filming for about 6 hours now.
Yeah, it was a long day. There's a lot to talk. There's a lot to chew on. There's a lot to digest.
So much.
There's a lot to uncover. And so he brought up, here's where he debunks her lie, where she says she only has one Facebook page that's private. He goes, on your Facebook group called Otter Creek Standing in the Trash, you've posted, and then he pulls up Exhibit E.
I forget what exhibit is, but it's Slay the Narcissist.
Yes.
And this is where it gets hilarious.
Now,
again.
remember, she lied and said she doesn't have social media presence. She only has a private Facebook group. Here, she's admitting that she has Otter Creek Standing in her trash. And
On another lie.
Eli addresses the one post where she brings up how to slay the narcissist. And she immediately starts giggling, and she goes, I live with a narcissist.
Crook
is a narcissist.
Crook is on Zoom, just taking it.
Yeah.
And taking it, and taking it, and taking it, and taking it.
Over and over. And she goes, and we have problems, and everybody knows it. I didn't post that for JH.
So Eli goes, so this is all in relation to Crook? And she goes, yeah. Now, keep in mind, Crook was already found guilty for telling me to suck his mushroom. And he testified that he was saying that to LIEnette. Now LIEnette's playing the same game, saying, no, the narcissist is Crook. I want him slain. Listen, slaying anybody is not okay. How stupid to even say anything under oath about anybody being slain.
Correct. And if she truly felt that way about Crook being a narcissist and she wanted to slay him, look up the term slay. It's not a pleasant term. Why hasn't she ran to the courts to file to get an injunction on him?
Oh, it gets better. Third party contact, she completely and totally admits it.
So then he goes on to question her about her connection with two fleas.
Yeah, he goes, you got a connection with FLEASA? And she literally, on the record, recorded, says, she puts our word out. She tells our side of the story.
Our truth.
I mean, come on! Third party violation. Hundreds. We're talking hundreds. And she just admits it. Admits it all. Under oath. On the record. I'm mind blown. I'm completely and totally mind blown. She admits the conspiracy. She admits that they're doing it for her. She admits they're her voice. She admits it all. They're telling her side of the story. They put her word out. She gives them the word. FLEASA puts it out. All on the record. And will be used against FLEASA in court in Ohio as well.
When Eli says, isn't it true that you posted that the two fleas are your voice? She goes, I may have. Actually, they share both sides of the story.
So I wrote down, yes, she's my voice. So I don't have the I may have. I have, I don't know if you can see that or not, above my fingers. Yes, she is my voice. So at some point, LIEnette said, yes, she is my voice.
Okay. I probably missed that. So then she goes on. So then Eli questions her. He goes, isn't it true that you made a post that if you go and watch the two fleas, you can see both sides? And
he goes on and on. This post and this post and this post and this post about FLEASA and this post and this. And LIEnette's response is, it's called freedom of speech.
Yeah.
That's her response.
And how she thanked two fleas for doing what she's doing. She thanked her. She's not stopping her. She's thanking her. She's encouraging her. She's championing her. She's cheering her on. Not stopping her from doing what she's doing, because two fleas is known to speak directly to you, directly at you, hashtagging what the Hales and @ what the Hales. And then she does, will confirm that she says, yes, it's called freedom of speech. I bet Paint Chips was the one who put that in her head.
I don't know. But he then goes on to say, Eli goes on to say, you are aware, and isn't it true that FLEASA has stated that she's your PR team? And LIEnette goes, no, never. Now, you realize the website, the PR team, the sound clip has already been submitted in last month as evidence. It's already done. It's already in. And so it's already there. And now she's going, no, it never happened. There is sound and images of PR for LIEnette. So she goes, I haven't spoken to FLEASA in over 9 months. Does she provide you money? This is huge for bankruptcy court. You know what? Let's not even talk about the money. I want to save that for bankruptcy court. I don't want FLEASA oh boy, the money issue. The money issue was huge on the record in court. So let's skip the money issue because FLEASA is watching all of this like a freaking fat hound. And we're not giving her anything.
That's fine. Eli does ask her, isn't it true that you direct people to go watch her channel? And she said yes.
Bum, ba-dum, bum. Oh, man. Busted. So then Eli, I'm going to talk just a little bit about the money. So she gave you money for a lawyer here today, didn't she? And so there's a huge discussion about money. Now, the money with FLEASA and the lawyer has already been put on the record. I made sure it was on the record for future litigation. And then he goes on to about the cameras. So we're going to go cameras and lawyer. And she says, you got cameras on your fence. Yeah. Your cameras record him December 7th. She goes, my cameras record everyone. Yeah, Miss Preston. And this is the judge now goes, Miss Preston! Miss Preston! She's putting her back into alignment because she's going, I have to record all the stalkers, all of his fans that come down the road. Who's the one fan that was so unhinged, so mentally disturbed that they literally bought property across the street from us? The person in court. I just can't even fathom. Can't even fathom.
And then at one point, he's saying that the Ohio courts is taking longer than we anticipated, correct? And she goes, yes. Because it just doesn't happen overnight. It takes time. There's been delays. At one point, the judge wanted a conference status hearing to find out where they were at. And at that point, they said they were in the process of getting an attorney.
It's added more and more and more violations.
Yes.
And I promise you, it's going to escalate even more. The anti-what-the-hell's ecosystem, after they see all this, is going to escalate even more. Even more.
She said, I don't keep dates in my head.
Because he's asking, did you give FLEASA the recording from December 7th? And so she goes, I don't keep dates in my head, da-da-da-da-da. And she goes on to say, I don't know what day. And he goes, who controls the cameras? And she goes, John and I do, both of us. And then how did the video get to Lee's the very same day where Jeremy and George were back in Otter Creek? She goes, I don't know. Well, hold a second. You just said you and Crook control the cameras. And he goes, you gave the videos to FLEASA, didn't you? And she goes on to say, FLEASA keeps an evidence file for us because I don't have a computer. Instead of saying, yes, I did, it's FLEASA keeps an evidence file for us. I don't have a computer. She's the holder of everything. Yeah, in other words, you gave her the videos and she's broadcasting them and you're in violation and she's going to be held accountable for it. Both LIEnette and FLEASA.
Yeah. She also said that Levy County Sheriff has a file folder of evidence for her as well. Did you catch that in your notes?
I didn't write it down, but I remember it.
So then he goes into Exhibit K, where it is a image of your truck when we returned back to Otter Creek and didn't announce it, but FLEASA had no problems sharing with the whole world.
Well, he said, Eli says, you agree you're giving videos to FLEASA. And she goes, I stopped that 8 months ago. Dumb.
Now does it make sense why Eli says you understand that the Ohio courts is taking longer? This has been going on for months.
Wow. And the videos, the hundreds of violations with the videos is a major, major topic. And she goes, I stopped that 8 months ago. Okay, well then Crook was giving them. She's already testified. The only people that have control of the cameras are her and Crook. So she says she was giving them 8 months ago and beyond, prior. So Crook was giving them 8 months to current day. And they're very deep. I can't even read my writing here.
Well, then she goes on to saying that Jeremy Hales was gone for 6 months.
Oh, yeah, she goes on, I was gone for 6 months and all of this.
Know that?
Oh, good question. The people in control are... So Eli zeroes her back in and says, all right, just summarize. The people in control of the cameras are you and Crook, correct? She says, yes. And you went on... So now the Volpe interview comes up. Mm-hmm. He goes... So you went on with Volpe, did a whole interview on Volpe, talking about civil protection orders, talking about court when you were told not to, correct? She goes, yes, I did go on.
But she also says, at this point, she's talking with her hands like this, and you can see all the new jewelry on her fingers. She goes, yes, but I can't remember the storyline. Because my brain
doesn't work like... By the way, remember, her brain works like that. She can remember everything. That was in Levy County Court. Well, in this court, she goes, my brain doesn't work like that. I can't remember dates. Mm-hmm. And he goes, so you went on on Vomits and you discussed the CPO and how court was so wrong, right? She goes, it was unjust and this has been weaponized against us by the court. With
the judge sitting right there.
And then Eli goes, you agree that you actively comment on FLEASA's channel. She goes, I have only commented 3 times in the past 9 months, and I had to debunk lies. Well, let's be clear. FLEASA blocked her. FLEASA has told the world that nobody can trust LIEnette, and then decided, since LIEnette wasn't going to turn her in anymore for charges, which doesn't matter because it's going to happen in federal court with bankruptcy anyway, she's still going to jail, that she was going to let her back in and try and pretend like none of this ever happened. Like LIEnette didn't put all the evidence and information out there of the fraud and the felony fundraising, not giving the money to LIEnette. Now they just want to pretend like it didn't happen. Oh, it happened. So now she's only been on there 3 times in the past 9 months.
Yeah. 8, 9
just
months.
Like, just because I watch a video doesn't mean I'm a stalker.
So that's a lie. We've seen her multiple times on Two Fleas Chat being active, and it was more than 3 times. And from what I understand, 2 of her YouTube accounts were blocked, and now she's on a 3rd one. And the name LIEnette is in it, but I thought she was burying that name.
She buried that name.
And she doesn't want to go by LIEnette anymore. But yet here she is still commenting on an account with the name LIEnette in it. Makes no sense to me. So then she talks about how they have cameras because of all the death threats and the kidnapping threats. Like, what death threats and kidnapping? Like, why wasn't that brought into evidence?
So then Eli talks about death threats. Says, we shared a video here of you talking to Shara Wolf, that you want Jeremy Hales dead like a dog. And boy, does she scramble and backpedal. That's a figure of speech. That was a private conversation. I didn't mean it. That's just a figure of speech. I didn't mean it. I didn't mean it at all. He goes, oh, okay, well, we listened to another conversation about you wanting your family members to get a hitman to kill Jeremy Hales. That video was played in this court. Mm-hmm. It's all a lie. It's AI. She literally says, do you hear this? I have vocal cord problems. It was AI. They were playing AI of my voice. It's not real. It's a recorded conversation
between
with
her and Shara. Remember, the journalist
There's no AI.
That she asked to cover this story.
So now LIEnette not only has spinal infusion like Crook, they're both using that excuse now for disability. She has vocal problems. She has vocal cord problems.
So
that's what she said.
Voice.
I have vocal cord problems. It's all AI. It's all a lie. I never said that. Wow. And Shara already gave testimony that she said all of it.
And then she tried to justify that it was a conversation between 2 people privately. I didn't really mean dead. I just meant like a figurative speech.
And then at that, Eli doesn't have to say anything else. I mean, there's no credibility. The evidence has already been shared. And Eli goes, nothing further. LIEnette then goes, this is just disgusting. And the judge goes, be quiet.
Mm-hmm. She told her to stop talking. Yep.
And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, I'm brought back on the stand. I didn't know this was going to happen. Eli says, I'm going to bring in another witness. I don't have any notes for this, so you take it away.
So at this point, it's 11:29. Eli says, Your Honor, I want to bring up a rebuttal witness, Jeremy Hales, back to the stand. And we did not anticipate this happening. We thought we had already testified as witnesses and we were done and that we would just be in the courtroom taking notes. And so you were up there briefly where he discussed in December of 2025, would you agree between December 7th of 2025 or December 8th of 2025 that there was footage or image of your truck posted on Two Fleas? And you said, I don't recall the exact same day, but it was the next day
that we arrived. We flew back. Did we drive or we fly back?
We flew.
Okay, so we flew back. So the next day, we were already back in Otter Creek. But we had so many videos ahead that nobody knew we were in Otter Creek. We had videos from Ohio, so nobody would know we were in Otter Creek on purpose.
So you've got FLEASA.
For our own safety.
You've got FLEASA disseminating images of Jeremy's vehicle, blasting that we're back in Otter Creek, and we didn't mention anything. We didn't say anything. And Eli said, do you feel that that is a threat to your safety? Do you remember what you said?
everything's a blur at this point.
He
so.
answered yes, absolutely, because we didn't announce it, and you've got
the
harassing channels blasting it all over.
They're
social
inciting
media.
harm. They want people to know when we're back so that harm can come to us, and it's very intentional, and it's very, very clear that it's very intentional, and it's a violation of civil protection orders, and they're going to be held accountable for it.
So then Justin steps in and says, were there any threats of harm with the post? And so it's not just.
So Justin gets to cross-examine me again.
Right.
He goes, "Are there any memes or any threats?" I do remember my answer here. I said, "Listen, every night there's somebody in FLEASA's chat talking about how to take us out, how to do harm to us, how to do something to destroy, to kill us, things along those lines." I have a complete legal journal. Without that journal in front of me, I can't tell you what's happening. Whether it's Luthman, whether it's Crook, whether it's FLEASA, whether they're citing it and they're saying it. Like there's just another one. There was another one the other day from FLEASA. I mean, they said something so horrific that completely and totally proves what they accomplished to do was accomplished, and they'll be held accountable for it for court. So even the comments in the live chat, that's evidence for us. And I went, listen, I have all of this. I can show you a ton of them where there's people, the moron bearded fisherman, homeless, unhinged, mental patient, should be in a hospital, talking about how many different ways to kill us in Florida, who just went on a live stream with paint chips, all defamatory, which Crook then encourages. LIEnette puts comments in and encourages, and we have it all in court. The insanity of it all. So I do remember all of that.
And then he asked, so you believe that these images came from LIEnette and Crook? And I
remember my answer. I went, listen, there's only your clients already gave testimony here. Your client just gave testimony. They are in control of the camera. Therefore, the only person that could give video to FLEASA is your clients. Therefore, this is violation of third party. And you already know we're going to go after protective orders against her as well.
Yes.
As we've already been given this testimony here in court. And the judge knows that we're moving in that direction as well, has been given testimony in court.
And then you also state that there were no threats, but without LIEnette and Crook in the equation, there wouldn't be these communications and these threats. And then...
No, I never said there were no threats. I said I didn't know of any threats if I don't have my journal with me.
Well, with that specific posting.
If I didn't have my journal, I didn't know of any threats. But I did say, you remove LIEnette and Crook from the equation, there are no threats, there is nothing, there are no issues, there is no harassment, there is no violations, there is no anything. Our life would be normal again.
So then Eli goes into explaining which exhibits he's going to submit to the courts. This
is standard. This is standard court. So we're done. I'm off the stand now, just so we're all on the same page. Okay. So George is jumping ahead, and we're not clarifying with those who don't know court standards and procedures. I'm off the stand. Now at the end, there's what they call the submission of exhibits. So every piece of evidence that's been shown. So you can object to exhibits, or you can go, yeah, we have no problem. So the judge starts with Eli. All right, submission of exhibits, and here they are. You can give them to the court reporter. And Justin, do you have any objections? He goes, nope. All right, all the exhibits are omitted. And then Justin, you have a submission of exhibits? Yep. And Eli goes, listen, I object to this 10-foot video. It's already been adjudicated. There's no reason for it. And the judge goes, I'll allow it. And frankly, who cares? They've already been found guilty of it. But Eli was going, listen, for court efficiency, why are we going over this again? She goes, I'll allow it. It's just more condemning for them.
Yeah. And then in addition to their attorney, he was going to submit one email, and it was an email between Deuce and Shara. I don't know the contents of that specific email. I wasn't in there, so I don't know. I don't know how it's going to help LIEnette Crook's case. And that, especially since Shara now has information and has testified against them. And then the other exhibit was going to be images or videos of employees driving down North Otter Creek filming their property.
So again, submitting evidence that they are providing videos of us to FLEASA. It's a video FLEASA put up, images from FLEASA. So you're going to you're going to submit for evidence that actually proves our case. Whatever.
So 3 pieces of exhibits, which I personally think are weak exhibits. When FLEASA says she has mountains of evidence, where are those mountains of evidence if he only submitted 3 things, which I think are weak exhibits? I'm sure he had a ton, but he was duped by the deuce.
So then we move into closing arguments, and the judge literally goes, "Do you guys want closing arguments?" And Eli goes, "You know what? I'm going to be brief." And Justin doesn't say anything. How about you do Eli's closing arguments and let me get Justin's, because Justin's are just... Eli was on fire, but Justin would given up and he threw them all under the bus. So you talk about Eli's closing arguments and then I'll talk about Justin's.
Okay, so it's at this point, taking notes and trying to listen at the same time is a difficult task. I'm going to try my best. It's not going to be verbatim. It's going to be word for word.
But transcripts are coming. They are on. They will be on order tomorrow.
I can give you like a brief synopsis of what was mentioned. So at this point, it's 11:33. Eli goes into saying just because Jeremy has fame and an online presence doesn't mean that he shouldn't have the right, the same safety and protection from harassment as any other person would. And so he said these constant online attacks are giving him anxiety and fear for his safety, and it's an evolution of harassment. So in other words, like every time they've been found guilty, LIEnette and CROOK, the harassment has escalated and gotten worse, which Justin didn't even know that they've been found guilty multiple times, because I testified to that. And then he talks about how it's anywhere from the signs and the pew-pews falsely accusing Jeremy an ARPist and having his Ohio address doxed and exposing him wherever his whereabouts are, and the harassment has involved. He goes, even the littlest things with communication, with CROOK flipping the bird or LIEnette intentionally rolling down her window to communicate. Like, all they have to do is stop. Just ignore us. Go the other way.
CROOK is shaking his head the entire time in the Zoom camera going, yeah.
And then he goes, during the second contempt, where they posted up for hours in front of town hall and chose not to leave immediately. They were... CROOK and LIEnette both testified that they arrived there early. Why would you need to arrive there early? Knowing that because they knew I was going to be there. Telling on themselves. And then he talks about the third contempt, where there's a ton of online harassment and instigated by LIEnette and CROOK, and that there's harassment of third-party contact. There's direct participation with the YouTube channels. There's hundreds and thousands costing you to have to bring these people to court to get them to stop. Anywhere from them calling you a cult leader to a terrorist to all these other names, and then how LIEnette and CROOK
PDF file, and Eli went through it all.
Are encouraging people with...
They're trying to encourage people to kill me.
Yes. So whether it's through vomit or paint chips or 2Ls, they've got... he brought out how paint chips are creating these like fake videos of Jeremy doing inappropriate things and dressed up as whatever, and it's a disgusting cycle of harassment. And then there's the direct violations, where LIEnette and CROOK have no credibility. The direct violations, these are like a blatant disrespect for the courts. Here we are in court again, where they have not paid for their fines. They're ignoring the courts with the court costs. They haven't paid any of that. They owe us
thousands. But by the way, when we are awarded legal fees for our lawyer fees, the lawyer doesn't get that. We get that money. So those lawyer fees go directly to us. They have not paid one penny. And Eli does say to the judge, these people are a blatant disrespect for this court.
They haven't even paid a dime of the fines that she charged when she found them guilty in contempt of court. And then he said the judgment of this court has helped him with his safety. However, Levy County Sheriff are talking about the totality of the circumstances, and they're not helping him. It's obviously that they're not willing to help him, and that the CSPO is keeping Jeremy alive.
He literally says that the videoing and the civil protection orders are my insurance policy. It's the only thing why I'm still alive today, I agree with them.
Yeah. he goes into talking about how Crook has brandished firearms and that now that they're both wearing guns on their hips for intimidation, which again, it's not legal, but why are they doing it? They're only doing it to intimidate, right? And that Jeremy is not safe, and that LIEnette and Crook are in contempt of the civil stalking protective order, and then the online participating and the third party harassing, actively recording him and giving it to the FLEASA, exposing his whereabouts, which is a direct violation, and then the OCC sign directly at the road is a clear message to Jeremy, and then the court has the power to hold them in contempt, and that we're asking the court for the full 5 years, no possession of firearms, and that this court has held LIEnette and Crook accountable to their disregard of the law, and that we're asking the courts to grant new protective orders for the 5 years.
He was on fire. I didn't expect Justin to get up. I thought he gave up at this point, because at this point he was just like, oh my goodness, this is a losing battle. He does get up. So Justin gets up and he throws the entire anti-What the Hales ecosystem under the bus. This is his last Hail Mary to try and save LIEnette and Crook. He gets up and he says, I have a very different perspective, Your Honor, as you might imagine. And I agree. He completely and totally agrees. I agree that they are being harassed. I agree that all these death threats are real. I agree that all this third-party contact is real. This is all real. It's happening. We've seen the evidence today. Now, you notice he didn't say Megan Fox did anything, or Coop did anything, or Tug did anything, or Shizzy did anything. It was all the evidence that was already displayed in court. Deuce, FLEASA, Bonehead, Stupid Lame, Marley Huge, Paint Chips, Vomit. And he goes, and I agree, there is a lot of online activity, but my clients are pawns to these others. My clients are the pawns to FLEASA and to Deuce and the anti-What the Hales ecosystem. He did not say anything about anybody covering the story in the actual truth, or Megan Fox or Tug. It was 100%. He says, my clients are pawns to FLEASA, to Deuce, using these CPOs to weaponize LIEnette and Crook for their own fame and fortune. As you can see right there under my fingers. He literally states that FLEASA is weaponizing the civil protection orders for her own fame and fortune. He literally states that Deuce has weaponized the civil protection orders for his own fame and fortune. He has literally stated that the others, Dodgy Robbie, all of them, by the way, the anti-What the Hales ecosystem was brought up nonstop. And he now knows who they are and what they are. And he goes, I agree 100%. They are weaponizing this CPO for their own fame and fortune. He goes, I have no doubt Jeremy Hales and George are being harassed. He says, FLEASA and Deuce, they're using LIEnette and Crook as pawns. A CPO isn't designed for this. He goes on to say, Your Honor, CPOs are designed for spouses that are causing physical harm to another spouse. We can't hand these CPOs out like candy. Who has the best knowledge of what's going on? And that's the Levy County Sheriff. They don't show bias. Justin literally went like this when Beecham was on the stand. Couldn't believe what was coming out of Beecham's mouth. And he says they're in the best position to handle these issues. He states this to the court, blows my mind. He goes, extending the civil protection orders will only add fuel on this fire. And I can guarantee you, if you do not extend these protection orders, all these YouTubers and Deuce, FLEASA, Dodgy Robbie, Stupid Lame, Bonehead, Marley Huge, Vomit, Paint Chips, they will stop if you don't extend the civil protection orders.
He can predict the future.
I couldn't believe what I was hearing. He's telling the judge, if you extend the civil protection orders, these people are going to continue to harass them and use LIEnette and Crook as pawns. And if you don't, they promise they will stop harassing them. Insanity. He says, should a civil protection order deprive these people of their Second Amendment rights, meaning LIEnette and Crook? And he goes on to say, you know what, Jeremy Hales, he's young, which, by the way, I'm almost 50. I don't need to pause to think I'm 48. I'm going to be 49 this month. I'm almost 50. I'm not young by any stretch. I may look it. I'm not young. He goes, he's young, he's powerful, he's wealthy. He goes, LIEnette and Crook, they're like flies. If there was a fly in the courtroom right now, they would be a fly to Jeremy Hales. By the way, George, what do you do when there's a fly in the house?
If it's in the way, you swat it.
You kill it. Bad analogy on Justin's part. They're a nuisance. You swat it. LIEnette and Crook are like flies to Jeremy because he's young, he's powerful, he's wealthy. They are nothing to this man. Let the sheriff do their job. He throws the entire anti-what-the-hell's ecosystem under the bus. He throws FLEASA, Deuce, the leaders of the anti-ecosystem under the bus. And then guarantees if she doesn't extend it, that the harassment will stop. The threats will stop. I can't believe it. Which then, Eli gets back up. I didn't know you could come back up as a rebuttal in a...
I did, just from watching trials online. But I do want to add, before Eli got back up with his closing argument, he did state that LIEnette and Crook are just pawns of a game that they never wanted to be a part of. Referring
FLEASA,
to the
Deuces, all the... He named the anti-what-the-hell's
harassers,
ecosystem.
right? He specifically is referring to the channels that are harassing us.
He's talking about all the violations that LIEnette and Crook are being found guilty for.
Yes.
And he's not talking about Megan Fox, Tug. He's not talking about
They don't
Mr.
harass
Coop.
us.
He's not talking about Shizzy Wiz. He's not talking about anybody else who doesn't harass us. He is only talking about anti-what-the-hell's ecosystem. He throws them all under the bus and says LIEnette and Crook are pawns in their game for wealth.
Yeah.
He literally states the anti-what-the-hell's ecosystem is weaponizing the civil protection orders for their own fame and fortune.
It's them that's weaponizing not us. And the whole time, LIEnette's got the phone up to her ear hole like that. So I see her hoop earring and her ear hole is exposed. It's disgusting. So I had to look away, but go ahead.
So Eli gets back up and he says, Your Honor, this is why CPOs exist. If LIEnette Preston and John CROOK wanted out of all of this, why were they on an interview with Vomit? Why are they on Two Lees every single night saying, I just sent you messages? They don't want out. They want more. They wouldn't be broadcasting everything they continue to do if they were a pawn in this game. And we ask the court for you to follow the law because you're the only one that has. Jeremy Hales and George will not be safe going back in Florida if you don't extend these civil protection orders. And with that, it's done. We have civil protection orders extended until April 20th, 2026, until she makes her judgment, which will be by mail. We will find out, are they going to do jail time? We believe they will. We believe that she's going to mandate that they have to check themselves into Levy County Sheriff jail and do an amount of time. There's probably going to be financial fines. They haven't paid it. We'll continue the liens on the property. Property is going to sail in bankruptcy anyway. We believe, and we can't prove it, but we believe, based on how everything went, there will be a 5-year extension and firearms will be taken away from them. This was an insane 2 months, 2 days in court for 4 cases. And Lord willing, we'll never have to go back again if they follow the law and stop